What up, everyone? This is Mr. Lord, Dr. Professor, Dark Joker, with another edition of Where, Pick, and Dare, where I pick games for the various games that are occurring tomorrow. Whether it's football, baseball, basketball, basically whatever games I want to pick, I will pick them. With all that being said, on with the video. MLB. So, first game is Arizona Diamondbacks versus the Chicago Cubs. So, the Diamondbacks have a 43.9% chance to win, and the Cubs have a 56.1% chance to win. So this is at Chicago, and for our pitchers, Burns for the Diamondbacks has an ERA of 5.28 and a WHIP of 1.57, and Ree for the Cubs has an ERA of 1 and a WHIP of 1.11. So I think with home field advantage and the significant pitching advantage, I think the Cubs beat the Diamondbacks. All right, Blue Jays versus Mariners. So the Mariners have a 51.5% chance to win, and the Blue Jays have a 48.5% chance to win. So this is at Toronto, and for our pitchers, Wu for the Mariners has a ERA 2.84 and a WHIP of .95, and Francis for the Blue Jays has a ERA of 3.71 and a WHIP of 1.06. So, both are, decent, ERAs. I mean, Wu's is better. Wu definitely has a better ERA. Francis, well, so it's under 4. Generally you want it under 3, but it's 3.71, so it's not a terrible ERA. But I think with home field advantage, I think it's with it being around like it's under 4, and basically that's kind of what you definitely want it at. So I think with home field advantage, I think the Blue Jays beat the Mariners tomorrow. All right, St. Louis Cardinals versus New York Mets. So the Cardinals have a 39.7% chance to win, and the Mets have a 60.3% chance to win. So this is at New York. So Nicolas for the Cards has an ERA of 9 and a WHIP of 1.62. And Pearson for the Mets has an ERA of 2.7 and a WHIP of 1.38. Yeah, so this is home field advantage for the Mets and a vastly significant ERA advantage. Like pitching advantage, I mean, the Cards have a pitcher with an ERA of 9, and the Mets have a pitcher with an ERA of 2.7. Yeah, Cards are winning. The Mets are winning this game. I mean, the Cards are not winning this game, I don't think. Not with a pitcher with that bad of an ERA. No. No, the Mets are winning this game. All right, Los Angeles Dodgers versus the Texas Rangers. So the Dodgers have a 56.9% chance to win, and the Rangers have a 43.1% chance to win. So this is at Texas, and for our pitchers, Yamamoto for the Dodgers has an ERA 1.23 and a WHIP of .91, and DeGrom for the Rangers has an ERA of 4.3 and a WHIP of 1.3. So while this is at Texas, which could help the Rangers, yeah, there is a significant pitching advantage for the Dodgers. So Dodgers beat the Rangers tomorrow. All right, the San Francisco Giants versus the Los Angeles Angels. So Giants have a 58.5% chance to win, and the Angels have a 41.5% chance to win. So, this is at LA. And then for pitchers, Webb for the Giants has an ERA of 2.63 and a WHIP of 1.13. And Anderson for the Angels has an ERA 2.87 and a WHIP of 1.15. So it's pretty close compared to the other games. Like the pitching is pretty close in quality. So I think home field advantage gives the Angels the advantage, and I think they beat the Giants tomorrow. NBA. So this is the playing games for the eighth seed. So starting off with the East. So this is the Miami Heat versus the Atlanta Hawks. This is at Atlanta. The Hawks have a 55.9% chance to win, and the Heat have a 44.1% chance to win. So, we know Trey Young had his ejection last game. If the Hawks would hope he doesn't have another issue like that. And as far as injuries, he's a game time decision. So, I guess there's a possibility he can't play. I think he's good. I think he'll play, especially if with the stakes of a playoff seed. So I think he'll play if he's able to. And Kevin Love, Nikola Jovic they're both game time decisions for the Miami Heat. I think, and the Heat have Spoelstra, who's a very good coach. I think with the home field advantage the Hawks will have, I think the Atlanta Hawks beat the Miami Heat tomorrow. All right, now for the West game, which is the Dallas Mavericks versus the Memphis Grizzlies. This is at Memphis, and Memphis has a 65% chance to win, while the Mavs have a 35% chance to win. And John Morant's he's a game time decision for for the Grizzlies. So so I mean so I guess there's a chance he won't play, but I think he's gonna play as long as he doesn't have any suspension or issues like that. I think he's playing. Of course, for the Mavs, Kyrie Irving's out for the season. That's a big loss, and of course they trade away Luka Doncic, which that was such a retarded trade. Like that was retarded. And I think it will cost him. I think with the home field advantage the Grizzlies will have, I think they beat the Mavericks tomorrow. College baseball. So first game is Ole Miss versus South Carolina. So this is at South Carolina, and this could be a very interesting game. Even though Ole Miss is 11 and South Carolina is unranked, this could be a pretty interesting game. Like this whole series could be interesting. But I think with the skill level difference between the Rebels and the Gamecocks, I think Ole Miss beats South Carolina. All right. Clemson versus Louisville. This is at Clemson. This is a rank versus rank matchup with Clemson at 3, Louisville at 17. Both are playing pretty well in baseball. Both have decent chance of making the NCAA tournament. I think with the home field advantage, I think Clemson wins game 2. All right. Vanderbilt versus Georgia. Yeah, this is at Nashville, so the Whistler's gonna be there. So, if Georgia's able to handle the Whistler well enough, they could get a win. But I think the home field advantage that the Commodores have, especially with the Whistler, I think Vandy wins game 2. All right, North Carolina versus Virginia Tech. So this is a ranked versus unranked. So North Carolina is ranked number 12, Virginia Tech's unranked. But both have pretty close records, and it's at Virginia Tech, so this could be a good series. I think North Carolina beats Virginia Tech tomorrow in game 1. And the next game is Texas versus Auburn. So this is at Texas. This could be a pretty good series with both teams being in the top 10 with Texas at 1, Auburn at 8. But I think Texas will have a significant home field advantage over Auburn and will beat the Tigers tomorrow. All right, Arkansas A&M. So, this is at Arkansas, and Arkansas is number 2, playing very well with 33-5 record. A&M's their record's fine, 12-1-15. I mean, they're unranked. I mean, I think Arkansas is beating the Aggies tomorrow. Let's see, LSU versus Alabama. So another ranked versus ranked matchup. LSU at 9, Alabama 15. This is at LSU, one of the hardest stadiums to play in. I think, I think with all that how that stadium's going to be like tomorrow. I think LSU wins game 2 over Alabama. All right, Tennessee versus Kentucky. So this is at Tennessee, which has become one of the more happening baseball stadiums in recent years, with all the stuff Tony Vitello's done there. Especially winning a national championship, and and Tennessee's 32-5, ranked number 4 in the country. Kentucky's unranked with a 2014 record. So SEC baseball can get pretty interesting. I think Tennessee beats Kentucky tomorrow in game 1. All right. Georgia Tech, Miami. So Georgia Tech is ranked number 14, 29-8 record. Miami's unranked, 21-17 overall record. And Miami is historically one of the biggest baseball schools in the nation. And, this is at Miami, so home field advantage could be very big for them. Like it could be big. This could be this is an upset waiting to happen potentially, just because of how big baseball is in Miami. But I think with how well Tech's played over the year, I think Tech beats the Hurricanes tomorrow. All right, Mississippi State, Florida. So neither team is ranked. Now both have good records. Mississippi State's 23-14, Florida's 25-14. Both, have a good chance of making the NCAA tournament right now. And both have been very good at baseball over the past few years. Mississippi State, one of the biggest baseball schools in the SEC. This game is at Dewey Noble Field, which has been called the Carnegie Hall of College Baseball. And so Florida's gonna have to deal with all the cowbells. Yeah. And with how the home field advantage is gonna be, I think Mississippi State beats Florida tomorrow. Then Oregon, UCLA. So this is another ranked versus ranked with UCLA at 10, Oregon at 16. Now UCLA, I mean Pac-12. Well, these are both Pac-12 schools, so that conference back in the day used to have a very rich history in baseball. Before the SEC started picking up in the 90s. You know, Pac-12 was the top dog, and I think they might still be number one in national championships in baseball. Pac-12 might still be number one. I don't know if the SEC's passed them yet. They're close. SEC is close, I think, but I mean, of course, these are two now Big Ten schools, and I don't think they count towards Big Ten's championships. Otherwise, Big Ten would be number one probably because of USC. Anyway, but that doesn't matter. But so these are so Oregon probably not as well known as Oregon State for their baseball, and UCLA they've won. They've won championships before. Like I think 2013, I believe, was their last baseball championship. And so these are both really good schools. So this could be a very good game. This is at Oregon. So both are pretty close in rank. I think with the way game 1 and game 2 pitchers are, where that's a lot of times those are going to be, for the most part, those are your two best pitchers. I think with home field advantage, I think Oregon beats UCLA tomorrow. And that's it for picks. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening to my picks. Do you agree with them? Do you not? If you have different picks, you can put them in the comments. But other than that, please like, subscribe, and all that. Thank you for listening, and look forward to the next video.